Hi, my name is Mary Anibal, and I'm a singer, songwriter, bida player, performing artist from Harare, Zimbabwe. And I am going to be sharing with you my experience about my German tour, my recent German tour. Um, so, yeah, from the 24th of June, my sister and my mom, they accompanied me to the airport and we said our goodbyes. I met Manfred. He was so happy to see me and also happy to see him despite the fact that I was so exhausted because my flight was pretty long. We went to Rheinsberg. That's where he lives, which is like 2 hours drive from Berlin to, it's out of Berlin, but it's out of Berlin. So we arrived there and it was around 10, but it was showing me around Berlin, just passing through because we had to pass through Berlin. Yeah, and first day Berlin, and then this was the 25th, and then my first show was on the 27th. So we had to go back to Berlin on the 27th. I was performing at Schokoladen. And then when I arrived at Manfred's house, there was also a musician by the name Wura Samba. He's from Nigeria. He was currently on his own tour. So we had to collaborate and perform together. And he was one of he's a percussionist. So there were also other musicians that I collaborated with on my first show in Berlin at Schokoladen. There was Chamu on Bira, Steffen on the other Bira. There was also Marcus on the cajon and Wura Samba on the percussion. You know, I was I was so excited. I was so excited. But before the performance, I had to meet Agita Rando because I had a TV interview in Berlin.
Aber bevor wir Agita Rando am Klavier und Mary Anibal hören, sagen wir noch Tschüss, verabschieden uns für diese Woche. Nächste Woche übernehmen die Kollegen der ARD.
Und wir sehen uns auch wieder. Machen Sie es gut.
Und jetzt Mary Anibal.
The space was so amazing, singing along, loving the music. And I remember meeting a couple that had just come from India. They were at their honeymoon. They were film producers. They were like, this is so amazing, let's connect. And there was a lot of connections, and the hospitality, the musicians, the audience, everything was just so amazing. Fast forward, after Berlin, I had a show, an intimate show in Ruchenberg. I did a workshop as well as a concert, and the workshop was just before my performance, so I also had time to teach the participants of the workshop a song that we're going to perform together at the concert, and we sang Dande together. It was such amazing. Manfred hosted a garden party, a welcome garden party for me, and many people came through. His tenants, his friends, they all came from different parts of Germany, and there was so much food. There was so much meat, and you Germans love to drink. And it was such an amazing evening. But the jet lag was just catching up with me. I had to rest early. Manfred has a boat, so we went on a houseboat experience. There in Rheinsberg. I was driving the boat in the lake, and it was so nice. It was so refreshing and very therapeutic. I went to Speyer. Speyer, I visited Bugs Steffen. He's a photographer, a photojournalist, and I met him with his wife. It was an honor to meet Bugs Steffen because he has photographed Miriam Makeba, Angelique Kidjo, Chiwaniso Marera, Mbia Stella Chiweshe, and it was such an amazing experience. To him, it was like a full circle moment because he has so much love for African music, and um, me also meeting his wife, so welcoming, so much love for they showed me so much love, and we went under the bridge just a few kilometers from his house, took pictures of me. It was an honor. I was just pinching myself like, is Bugs really taking me pictures? Because it's the guy who takes photography for Wurzburg festival, the biggest festival in Europe and in Germany. Then from there we went to Beck and Reed. uh, this is where there was Shona Art, which is owned by Franz and Ronnie Katandi. They have a little Zim. No, it's not Shona Art. Sorry, it's Little Zim. It's Zimbabwe. I was so shocked to find vegetables, my veggie, kovo in that space. I was so shocked to find mubora. So I was like, this is literally Zimbabwe because there's so much Zimbabwean life in this space. I did a show there, and I also performed with some of the members of Pamuzinda. These guys have been touring for over 30 years in Germany. So it was like home. I felt at home because the music was so beautiful. The audience was so amazing. From Speyer, went back to Rheinsberg, and I had a performance at St. Laurentis Church. This was one of the highlights because normally Rheinsberg is well known for uh, opera, and many people who perform in churches are opera singers, orchestras, and stuff like that. But it's the first time where I performed in Rheinsberg, and usually about 50, the most 100 people. This was the general number of people that attend the concerts, about 60 to 100. But to my surprise, over 300 people came to my show, came to my performance, and I had the honor of performing alongside my brothers, the Mokoomba. From there, we had to travel to Cologne for Moto Festival. That place felt like home, so it was phenomenal. From there, from Cologne, I had back-to-back shows. I did Wiesbaden at an Africa festival, then Witten. Witten was at Shona Art. It was my solo show, my solo concert, but I also performed alongside my two brothers um, from German, and it was an amazing show. And from there, we had to head back to Berlin at Kanako Africa Festival, where we performed in front of the train station, the Habenhof. From there, we went to Swabish Hall. Schwabish Hall, there was a fundraising concert for and a panel discussion for Bongai and Shamwari. It was a fundraising for the kindergarten that is owned by Krista. Um, it was an amazing experience. From there, we went to Munich. I performed alongside Pamuzinda. Ooh, that show was great because I Mokoomba had gone to Portugal for another show, and then we met in Munich. I did a show at ZimKaffee owned by Tawanda, and the show was organized by Mafrida. She welcomed us into her house, and ooh, she was an amazing host, and she made sure we were just at home, and even the people. So I'll tell you a fun fact about Zurich. It was in a it was in a coffee shop. So it was sold out before the 2 days before the event. So what happened is it was in this street. People were inside, and we just put a speaker outside so that those who were passing by can just listen to the music. But I tell you, some guests from other restaurants were actually leaving those restaurants and coming to my performance. And I remember there's this guy who was holding a coffee cup, and then he had to like leave the cup with his friend and come inside and force himself inside and start dancing. I was like, oh my goodness. It was such amazing. The people were amazing, and everyone was singing along to the songs. Then we had to go back to Germany, to Stuttgart, at Boller's Wine Lounge. Ooh, it was fancy. There, I reconnected with a lot of friends. Reinhard and his partner. I had performed with them in at the Zimbabwean German residence, as well as Zimbabwe German Society. So it was a full circle moment, and I was like, Reinhard should have carried your cello. We could have done something together. He's like, no, Mary, this was your time. And I was so amazed to see them. As well as Theo is also a cello player, is usually in Zimbabwe. And then from there, we went to Nottingham. I had performed at a festival there. And Nottingham was my final concert, and other private shows and workshops and intimate concerts that I did in Germany. My experience and my time in Germany was phenomenal. I couldn't trade it for anything.